Good God, just eat each other and be done with it already, Christ. Hi everyone, GreenPanda here, and I know our commentary channels are dying, but I will not be naming names to protect myself and them. Also not to open up a can of worms or bring up drama that's been dealt with, like kicking up dust where it's finally settled. But whenever the our commentary channels do something, I get irritated, but I know once I make a video, it's over, but also it's pointless. Because they deal with themselves, life goes on. So I'm just gonna say why I fucking hate our commentary channels. Good God, I just want them to shut the fuck up already. ESC channels are like those tacky gossip columns, and celebrities are just money-grubbing, soul-sucking, self-entitled pricks who are just gross individuals. I have never seen an art commentary channel that's been around for a long time who was an unproblematic and wholesome person. And I don't mean making mistakes, I mean they point fingers accusing people of being horrible, but when that finger is pointed back at them, they end up self-destructing and cancelling themselves. Because I don't want to poke an ESC account, I'm not going to name names to protect them myself, and it would be ironic if this video will pass on for years and the art commentary channels' names would change, showing that they are just that consistent in that general awfulness. As a whole, I would love to make videos about art. When I do critique, I only criticize celebrity artists, you know, like Scott Thingamajig and the guy who did Inktober, like people who are big platforms, I would talk about them. But when it comes to smaller YouTube channels or petty drama, I do not touch that with a 10-foot pole, because it will resolve itself and with a shit apology or someone getting cancelled or disappearing off the internet, so it's all fine. But this is what pisses me off about ESC channels. Trauma and profiting from it. There's nothing more inhumane than an ESC channel that talks about a video about traumatizing subjects, something that needs to be handled with a little TLC and sensitivity. But instead it comes across as a joke, very resentful from a high and mighty use of morality, as if this creator is both judge, jury and executioner, and if the video is poorly made, can be even more damaging to an already volatile situation. For example, this person creator is going something awful, they are in our prayers, it's so tragic what has happened to them. Also, this video is being sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. It comes across as very impersonal and disingenuous. These are very bitter tastes in someone's mouth that they are making a profit and making a living off other people's trauma and pain. They're not making this video because they care, that they want to help this artist person. No, it's a living, and it's something that they chose to make that platform about getting money and extortion from other people suffering. How do you sleep at night? Also, using a piece of information on Google to justify that argument, but this argument is very biased, only to make it seem as if they are A, knowledgeable about a subject like trauma. You're not a therapist, you shouldn't be talking about something that you're not knowledgeable in. Or B, only use a source that adds to their biased argument. If you're going to present a video as a quote-unquote informative piece, if this was a uni essay, you would have to cite multiple sources et al, other websites that are medical journals, or a ton of things that actually go into detail that is for and against the argument that you're presenting, and even post links and information on that. But no, that's too much effort. But throwing around symptoms and stuff is technically misdiagnosing people or self-diagnosing people when you are not a professional, and also creates misinformation on a subject that is already sensitive enough. It disgusts me when ESC channels read a quick Google search of something and read it, then continue talking about it when it comes across as a 12-year-old using Wikipedia as a valid source for that English essay. Spoiler, it's not. Another thing I really don't like about art commentary channels, their art sucks. Like, they make thousands of videos about trauma every single day and they're constantly making speed paint, so why is the art so bad? Like, you've been drawn for years, why the frick haven't you improved? Why is there still art terrible and stiff, and they make so many mistakes? Like, have you seen an ESC channel have good art? Since they've drawn over and over, they would have some improvement, but this just proves that drawing thousands of drawings every single day and the whole practice makes perfect thing doesn't exist. Also, when they get exposed once for tracing, heavy reference, whatever, and you think, since the art is bad, how long have they been tracing? Is this a one-time thing? It wouldn't be a problem, again, if they weren't so high and mighty themselves and tell people off from doing the exact same thing. Do as I see and not as I do. Look, I'm human enough to know if someone, especially a large group of people, who suddenly yell at me and tell me that I'm wrong and problematic and that I need to apologize, I will be defensive, okay? It's a human response. I'll own up to that. I'll probably need a month to cool down, then look back at the critique and go, yeah, I may have fucked up. But when it comes to ESC channels, they hold young and small artists to an impossible high standard. You know how celebrities are accosted by paparazzi and fans and are terrified because they're just doing normal people things and the old privacy. Well, these kids on the internet are held to a high standard of acting professional and taking critique as an adult, and also being very fucking humble when they're getting attacked and dogpiled. Who the fuck would not respond in a terrible way when they're being cyberbullied? So it's very hurtful and potentially traumatizing, especially over an honest mistake about problems like dressing or the phrase something wrong. Honest mistake. Dogpiling. I have thousands of strangers just flooding DMs and videos accusing you of something, especially when it's making a mountain out of a molehill. It's ridiculous. And yet when these adults or art commentary channels do the exact same thing, the thing you crucified others on, they get defensive, they downplay, they go, I'm not wrong, you're wrong, and refuse to take accountability, and they handle this much worse than the people they attack. They do a shit apology video, they take it down, they do a second apology video that's a bit better, but again, it's like, dude, you hold other people's mistakes and use that as your crutch to demonize someone, and yet when it's you, it's fine. They don't take this professionally yet. They don't take anything professionally yet. Expect small artists or even other creators who's going for the exact same thing to take it to a higher standard, something that they will not expect from themselves. The hypocrisy is astounding. These ones I have sympathy for traumatized and being in a victim mentality. It's just a messy situation when a person artist, I'm gonna call them Jeff,
my name is Jeff,
goes through something traumatic or YouTube drama, which is also traumatic within itself, with either dog pile they go through or even hate they get outside on the internet or on outside sources, and they go through something that they didn't deserve. These people are basically victims and they do deserve sympathy. And it's definitely not healthy what they went through. It's definitely traumatizing. So they get overheated for something that wasn't their fault. Once it's concluded, they get support. People try to help them and they try to continue with their life and brush it off and try to deal with it. Once it's all over, it's a sigh of relief. Everything looks okay. Until Jeff, who went through an ordeal, makes a bad take. A very bad take. Not a malicious one, just a whoopsie. But here's the problem. Trying to tell Jeff that this is a yikes, either delete it or deal with it, okay? Problem. From previous experiences, Jeff now can't tell whether people are given a genuine critique or if they're being attacked again. When the mind is denying and being defensive to protect themselves because it's happening again, is what they're thinking. So when they make a bad take, they assume they're being attacked because of their previous experience, and they don't realize they're in the wrong this time, but think everyone's out to get them. And this is really messy, especially when you see it, because at this point in time, you want to walk away, but at the same time, you're thinking this bad take can turn into a big thing. It's not okay, and it shouldn't be excused or encouraged just because someone's went through something traumatic. And again, really shit that people with mental problems, fucking art commentary channels, it's just a mess. So there was an artist online on Twitter, I'm gonna call them Twit. So Twit was reading my reading manga online, as you do, going through manga, and saw on the main page that was trending was a very not safe for work manga, a hentai basically, on what you assume was a manga website that was for all ages from 0 to 17 plus, but a hentai is a hardcore up there. So shocked to see this on the main page, clicked it and saw horrified that was about a middle school student. As a Brit, I didn't understand what the problem was. I was like, they're a teenager, right? And it's like, wrong, it's like they're in year 6, they're 10 years old, it was raunchy. So horrified, what does Twit do? Either way, this was a website that they went into in private in their own spare time. So they go onto Twitter and post, oh my god, have you seen this? Disgusting. Which was okay to do. What wasn't okay was showing the manga with the title, and the only thing censored was the skirt flying up. So as an adult and even as a kid when I was on the internet, I was told, don't believe everything on the internet. If someone says, this is awful, I'm not a sheep. I won't nod my head and not think for myself. Since the title wasn't censored, I typed it in to see how bad could it be. It was bad. But what was worse is that this could have been ignored and buried. No one would have known that this manga existed. There are thousands upon thousands of manga that has this type of content, and it's made in Japan, made for people who's not Western and everything, and it exists. We can't help that. It's just best to try to maintain that and try to keep it out of, you know, other people from viewing it, and try to censor it and tag it appropriately. And if you don't like that stuff, it would have been better not to make a big deal out of it and bring it to people's attention. Dragging it to Twitter, and since Twit was an influencer and posted a possible gross, in their words, CP, whose followers who were potential minors, In the words of the law, showing minors not safe for work is like into the category of a predator. Not to mention the backlash they got was actual in favor of people who liked this type of stuff. So basically by going, here, check this manga out, it's gross, the people who liked it would be like, cool, thanks. Like, this was not an exposure, it wasn't a W, it was an L. By spreading this type of stuff and possibly triggering their followers. So a twit was being a twit, and instead of deleting the post and only attacked the others in a false activism or saying they're against problematic content by exposing others to problematic content. Their actions wasn't matching with the words. Who assumed most critique were pro-Blur and ignoring the cries of their followers who was disappointed and didn't realise how wrong or what they did was wrong. Why didn't they blur out the title and the name of the manga or flip the image to make it more harder to find? Or better yet, why not just post the image? Why not just say, I was reading manga online and it was basically trending a hentai. Why is the hentai on a My Reader manga, which is full of like lots of age appropriate stuff? Why is this here? Why is this manga on this website? What the fuck? But instead of doing that, they decided to share the problematic manga and trigger lots of potential minors on their feed in the process. And others defended twit by going, people can take the image, post it into Google. No, that's effort. Okay, the time would have taken to take the image, copy it, and then paste it into Google search is such a waste of time compared to just type in read raunchy manga and click on the first link. That takes 2 seconds. Okay, so either way, it was messed up. Hell, why even show the image? Why not just say I was reading my reader manga and a hentai appeared? So that happened. And then there's a YouTuber, another example. I'm gonna call him Twat. Oh, I'm in Britain, we can't say that. Okay, I'll call him Tick. So Tick is a meme reviewer who was criticising memes, animations, movies, etc. Most made by beginner or younger artists, has a big following. You assume that with the way the videos are made that maybe some of the followers are impressionable minors. On their Twitter and YouTube, they suddenly decide to post videos, images of themselves, butt naked as the day they were born. Tick literally posted nudes online, whereas followers who might be children could see. Okay, in real life, being naked in public will put you on a defender list. Okay, yeah, on the internet, it's fine. What gets me is that these people would say that they were antis, you know, like the pro-shipper argument, that if you read dark content, you condone it. And yet these antis who are against that stuff and are activists against that stuff and think that protecting minors do behaviors like this. As a neutral person, I think it's unfair to say that you shouldn't judge people for the content they consume, that it's not a reflection of a person, like Exhibit A right there, but that doesn't mean that deflecting isn't a thing. Both have the capability of being a bad person. It's the person's actions that make you horrible, not the content they consume. So it's best not to generalize and say, oh, Group B is watching, you know, dark content, which means that they're blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, don't do that because it's stupid, because the same logic can be applied to you, the anti. So yeah, I think both sucks, you know, everyone's an asshole in this Reddit post. Another artist was talking about, well, minorities like BLM, LGBTQ plus community, feminism as a whole. I'll use feminism as a metaphor, but the hypocrisy of using the whole minority as a shield against critique. This person I'll call Tack. We all want representation in media. We all want stories and want to see ourselves in it. As an umbrella term, we can all relate to this, but we would like to keep things separate. As a LGBTQ feminist, I would like to know that as a whole media is ratioed with white cis men being the majority. I don't hate this. I'm not bothered. A character is just a puppet, a your name here, a game character that you can see through in the eyes for a story. Problem. Since there's a lack of rep, we take a character and project onto them, making them gay, changing popular male characters, and gender bending, race bending. In fandom, this isn't a big deal and shouldn't be the end of the world. The problem is mixing politics, suddenly putting lines in the sand that no, you can't gender bend these characters, you can't make this character gay. Which, okay, I'll drop it, I'll make my own characters, I won't lose sleep over this. The issue is that only one minority can project onto a character that you're not, you know, that minority. But when another minority does the same thing, it's stealing rep. It's okay to project for one minority, but another one, it's a taboo and a no-no. The hypocrisy. As a whole, we all want rep. I want to see a movie with more women in it, and shows like Superwoman, Batwoman, etc. But compared to LGBT protagonists in a movie, we have love Simon. Like people who are trans, non-binary, lesbians, bisexuals, adults, seniors, old people, or even people of colour, we all have to share Simon. Even though we're a group, a community, and yet we haven't had movies like Love Simon since 2018. It's either small TV series or side characters. It comes across as homophobic and sexist when one group can project onto pre-existing fictional characters and that's okay, while the other third of minorities can't or isn't allowed without being attacked and having one label attack another. My take and my opinion is this: it's all or nothing. If you say yes to one group and no to another for doing the exact same thing, that's discrimination. That's treating others differently for their race, sexuality, and gender. That's okay for one and isn't okay for another. No. It's a whole or nothing. If something is problematic, then let's just all make our own characters and stories instead of relying on others. In fandom and creators and making fan art, fan fiction, I can take a character and do whatever I want to them. Doesn't mean I want that character to be that. I'm just using them as a placeholder or as a medium to be creative. So making a character LGBT isn't the end of the world because it's not real. It's the fact that media is suddenly making reboots and making characters LGBT or making them women. It's something that I'm personally not comfortable with, as I'm of the frame of mind that it's secondhand representation. I want my own original character that had effort in their writing. I hate these cardboard cutout characters who the writers are saying, oh, it's a woman girl boss, we just won't write her as a complex, nuanced character and her being a woman will carry the show. No. I want original works in media, but projecting in fandom is something supposed to be fun. But if people can't get along and you can't project onto a character that's going to create a volatile environment and make people upset, then don't fucking do it. Don't gender bend or make the character gay if it's gonna make people upset. And also the third thing, but here I can't talk about the third thing because I'm not that third thing. I can't speak for that community, so I'm just gonna assume that we're all in the same scenario when we all want representation, we all want to project. If it's gonna be a big deal about it, how about we just don't? So yeah, TAC, the AC account basically is like, oh, using their minority as an excuse and everything to project on the characters, but then trying to gatekeep and say, oh, I'm allowed to like make this character gay, but if you want to make them like gender bent or a person of colour, fucking don't. It's like, that's not fair. At the end of the day, it's like, that's why I don't like TAC. This video and just call it the hypocrisy of people online, because everything about this is just, I want things to be fair and equal, but everyone's a fucking hypocrite and I hate it. It's like, why is it left right? Why is there no neutral? Why is there no people in the middle who just wants everyone to get along? Where's my pacifist sat? What the hell? Okay, this is taking too long. I had a ton of examples of other AC accounts that pissed me off who were doing things to make themselves, like, you know, victimized, but I don't have the time and I had to chop it. So I'll just say quickly that people who use their race, ethnicity, their gender, their sexual orientation, and mental disorders and using everything as a weapon to use to attack other people and say, oh, as a victim I can talk on this and I can attack you, blah blah blah, and it's getting a bit ridiculous by basically weaponizing something like that, because not only does it hurt other people, it hurts the community, it also is very disingenuous and makes you look like a very unreliable, untrustworthy person, and also it kind of diminishes the problems that you have and makes a big deal out of something, and it's like, how can we take you seriously after you use that just to hurt somebody? So yeah, that's the only thing I can have about victimization. Let's move on because it's taking too long. Art commentary bias. Okay, it's hard to stay neutral when an AC account makes a big L and makes a mistake, so always call them out. The worst part is when this channel has a vendetta and has a bias to dislike this creator. If they hate this creator, then anything they see is wrong. Dogs are cute? Fucking shame on you, how dare you mention dogs. And the problem with that, if there's a large group of friends, aka mean girls, who all have the same mentality, then they manipulate a situation what is right, you know, that hold creators to a high standard, yet when the finger is pointed back at them, they're the victim. But given the environment that only a popular group of voices are, you know, encouraged, yet any disagreements is immediately shunned and have a creator get cancelled because their opinion differs, sounds very cult-like using fear as a tactic, and the only opinion you have shouldn't oppose someone or you're problematic and you need to go down. It makes it very difficult to speak up and criticize others because you're worried of your own situation, being afraid of speaking your opinion. It's not a healthy environment, especially one that's supposed to encourage freedom of speech. Is it critique or is it just cyberbullying? There are barely any calm ESC channels that slowly and soothingly tell someone they did something wrong. Either they're angry, resentful, vindictive, they almost relish in making someone's life a misery. The whole "don't attack the artist" is a joke, as if they want artists to be hurt in the making of this video. But then there's the other type, which I hate. The ones that make joke videos, the ones with a ton of memes, vines, overly loud effects, and the voices are just garbage, that they talk a lot of shit with evidence thrown around. And as a whole, it's a mess of a video. It's on purpose so you believe from the scant amount of information that's presented that's true. It's also cruel to the artists involved that they were talking to. You always do a "to the artists, if you're watching this video, do better." No, you're not watching this video. This 30-minute video where you make animations and rude jokes where you dunk on them and make them as a form of sadistic entertainment. It's not critique. If I was watching that video, I wouldn't sit through it. I would be crying. People get defensive because it hurts. They don't think they're wrong, but these quote-unquote "it's just my opinion" videos that shame an artist to make a joke compilation is just pure malicious. I've seen 2 artists who had videos about them that was framed like these, and it's how I realised when an art drama is actually legit and the person is at fault, or if people are making a mountain out of a molehill. These 2 artists were witch hunted, and each time I think of them, it leaves a sour taste in my mouth of the period of when they were dogpiled and cancelled, and it got to the point where the things they went through was so barbaric and over thingies just because of what they did wasn't even that big of a deal. It got to the point where they were literally destroyed, all because people didn't like them. The utter clickbait that I got from these fucking videos. It's called an art commentary channel. Like, I don't know, talking about art? Colour theory, composition, what copy and hard reference and tracing is, the difference. I don't know if I would do a video on art things beginners need to know, like copying a pose, a palette composition, or other things, or when is it copying or when is it a study. It's best to know these things. You know, general art stuff, common mistakes that beginners wouldn't know about because we've all been noobs. I had used someone's art in my profile once and I got yelled at. I traced a Sonic X screenshot and got screamed at, and I was just a kid, I didn't know. Yet the only time people talk about art manners is when it's from a biased or resentful attack, or in a person's opinion. Copying is okay, not okay, depending on a person. I can see person here, this is an exact copy. It's not traced, but it looks traced. The composition, color, character used in it looks exactly the same. And person here would go, but it's not though, in my opinion, based as a fact. It's not actually a copy though. You're wrong. But yeah, the slow decline where the art commentary channel started as, you know, about small artists and common mistakes, slowly being perverted into taking it out on creators while using the savior shield, while they have law enforcement on YouTube, and then the slow cannibalistic of eating each other and throwing words around like ableist, racist, trauma, getting sympathy and trying to drag each other down to the moat. If I'm going down, you're coming down with me. And I'm sitting there thinking, this is supposed to be about art. Yeah, it's nothing to do with art. Clickbait. The fact that like a snowball effect, the drama is still ongoing and the blame game is like a ticking time bomb that lands on a different person. Someone is always in the limelight, as if they're taking turns, or the ball passes to them, boom. They're being problematic and making drama and they've done a whoopsie. The fact that it's an art commentary channel, so other people are suddenly playing video games in the background while they're talking over it. How lazy is that? So as a whole, the utter clickbait, but also clickbait is the fact that when they have a video response and you click it and it has nothing to do with what they're talking about either. The clickbait of the fact that they talk about stuff that they should be talking about, but then they add a ton of shit into the video that has no relevance to it whatsoever, and you're thinking, now we're spiraled off into a topic that had nothing to do with the video, and now it's a whole can of worms. So as a whole though, a clickbait of art channels just, I don't know, being a person making a speed paint with a voiceover that was supposed to be background noise, and my stress relief turned into stress, making me unnecessarily angry over something that just didn't matter. Why are we dragging irrelevant content or even delicate subject matters into our community and talk about stuff that we have no authority on talking about? I'm an idiot. I don't talk about politics because that requires research. Is that the channel I even want? No! So why bother? As a whole, why don't we create a community you can escape to? Something that actually talks about art and try to improve our craft. You know why? I know why. Drama. If you see yourself live long enough, you'll see yourself becoming the villain. I'm human. I love drama. It's like a train wreck, you just can't take your eyes away from it. And when you see an art video tutorial, it's like, whatever, boring. But when you see a video of someone familiar and the thumbnail is like, this guy fucked up, you want to know what happened. All of a sudden, my brain that can't concentrate suddenly has layers of focus and can consume an entire video and have an opinion about it. And the truth is, it's entertaining. There is a sick pleasure to it, especially when it's a creator you don't like. When you watch them slowly being destroyed and their career is in tatters and they're being humiliated, unable to show their face on the internet again. As a whole, you look at human history and you see how Romans would feed people to starved lions, how crowds relished in this, how people watch women being accused of witches and being burned at the stake, and then public executions and being punished, and how people would watch this in public, in real life. Life vanished before their very eyes. As a whole in human history, we've always wanted to see the downfall of humanity, that we haven't changed. If anything, when you compare the human history of people as a whole and you see of what we do now compared to them, we're not as cruel as before, since no lives were lost. Yet, the fact that I no longer care about people outside of those whom I care about in my immediate family, the burnout and utter mental exhaustion that others have went through from COVID and a steady decline in the world, the utter shameful violence that's accepted as the norm, that people are so unfeeling that they would take pleasure if someone happened to unalive themselves. But because of their politics or opinion, find it justifiable to act this way, to demand people to have empathy, to sympathise and care for a fictional character and yet act so inhumane to real people. Asking me to give a shit about other people, even fictional characters, is asking for the impossible. I used to care. I used to have empathy, but now I don't give a shit and couldn't care less what other people do, what they think, what they believe in, to know it's pointless and that it's 2022, and yet, with this mindset, you have not made a difference. It's only justified and made people desensitized to violence, death threats and doxing. With the way things are going, people could be hurt, are getting hurt, and now an audience that used to care are in similar or worse situations, and that self-preservation for your mental health, realizing how stupid this all really is. That you can't enjoy something without it being twisted. That being cruel is justified because someone disagrees with you. With this pattern, people could get themselves hurt and everything, and with the way the internet is going, we'll run with it. By twisting art commentary channels to glorify and use trauma for entertainment, with that mentality, I would not be surprised if it went worse. If people will become so inhumane, they wouldn't realise how far they'll go. And where will they go too far? We are descending into a dystopia that I would not be surprised if a thumbnail came up and said, this person is no longer with us and why you should be happy about it. And people will probably be okay with that. I won't be surprised if the internet as a whole will go in that direction, because we're already slowly going there if we're getting so desensitized to trauma. If people are already being like discussing towards potential victims and triggering and saying, oh, if you're a victim, you deserve to get bullied. If people are so insensitive to that already, again, how far will they push the boundaries and still think that they're in the right? It's just getting too easy to not care about people anymore, and what used to be common sense, decency, and even basic levels of respect fall to the wayside over an opinion or a blow up because someone worded something wrong. Also the whole, they should know better, well, yeah, it depends if they've been on YouTube for years or a while, and how people turn impossible standards then buckle when they're the ones in the hole. Sounds like karma, but remembering that people are human, that we make good choices and are wholesome, unproblematic, but also gross individuals who make huge mistakes and fuck up as a whole. We're human. We fuck up, but it's one thing to say, oh, no one's perfect, we make mistakes, but then immediately backtrack when someone does something flawed. Our commentary channels don't put money where their mouth is, and that's why I hate them and lose respect for them. But as a whole, it's a do as I say and not as I do. When something goes wrong and blame others for themselves. Since this is a long video, I will be upfront. I'm a flawed person. If people disagree with me, I will lash out. That's who I am as a person. But once I've chilled the fuck out and look back, I will realize, oh yeah, I've made mistakes, and then move on with my life. But realistically, if a commentator hates this video, I will cry. Okay, I'm soft as fuck. So yeah, that's my video. I never mention anyone because I don't want to dig up old drama, and I've noticed when people bring something up and use receipts, if they so much as make a misquote or phrase something wrong, it spirals off into another drama that continues on and ruins lives. People are so nitpicky. It's not what you said, it's how you said it. And people misinterpret things and use it as evidence to be a jerk and make a big deal out of something. But as a whole, I know people will look at this video and go, well, lack of evidence, receipts. hates, then this is just generalization. Not all commentary channels are bad. Look, as a whole, commentary channels used to be seen as people who would keep others in line. Given the internet with any lack of government enforcers, we are free to do what we want, but people make awareness videos to protect others from problematic and dangerous people on the internet. But there is a moment where people abuse this power influence and more people are getting sick of ESC channels, and as a whole, I'm tired. Just fucking eat each other, and since the ESC channels is dying, they will move on to another platform. Like VTubers. Evil will never die. Well, hope you like this video and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!